Third time's a charm. Larry Easler, you're the MVP. He figured out how to flip the screen, and then I don't have to use my computer where it's all jacked up. Hi, Jonathan Kiesler. I'm a professor. I teach economics, and I thought I'd do a short video, not necessarily on my take, because who cares? I mean, who am I? But basically the economics behind a $2 trillion stimulus, the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, and what we can not so look forward to. First of all, just a qualifier, I identify as a libertarian, so you might hear things that'll offend you as a Republican or a Democrat, and that's okay. That's good. That's good. That's what we need. Buckle up. If I haven't offended you yet, don't worry, I'll be with you shortly. We have to keep in mind, I'm sorry, this music's just jacking with my head. Hey, Alexa, stop. I got an econ here. I just want to qualify. I'm married to a physician, so obviously I get it from a medical perspective, what we're trying to do, but I'm also an economist. And I read some stuff this morning from the New York Times that actually was critical of President Trump and what he was doing yesterday in a news conference where he said, okay, listen, all right, sometimes the treatment is worse than the cause. Okay, bigly. All right, think what you want about the man, but he's got a point there. At some point, you can't shut down your economy indefinitely. I know we're 10 days into this thing, but that's big in this economy. So you have to be careful how you're shutting things down coast to coast. So keep that in mind. There are economic implications of people losing jobs. That leads to increased stress. You have things like heart attack, stroke. People are trying to buy their medications right now. There's also documented cases where economics, it's the number one stressor for a marriage. It literally causes people to commit suicide. So you have to be very, very careful on what you're doing there too. So the $2 trillion stimulus, how can we do that? We are $23.6 trillion in debt as a country right now, so we are straight up broke, okay? But we're kind of broken down in like an old abandoned Kmart parking lot, and so they're going to send out some cash, and that's kind of like the booster cables from like the Good Samaritan who comes by and gives you a boost so you can get home. That's the idea. But it has economic implications, okay? First of all, the legislation, from what I can read into it, only contains about 12.5% that actually go to the American people. There's a lot of pork. There's a lot of special interest. So don't forget, it's not the left versus the right. It's the state versus you at all times, all right? They're getting there, so you need to look out for your own. If you would, when you go to the mailbox, don't dance so much when you get money back from the government. Should you be happy? Yeah. They probably shouldn't have taxed you that money anyway. They probably owe you way more than that. But there are implications. Ayn Rand once said, you can ignore reality, but you cannot ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. And that's a couple things I want to cover today. $23.6 trillion in debt. We can't afford a $2 trillion stimulus. So how do we do it? All right. Well, there's really only two ways. Okay. The first approach is quantitative easing. All right. I always like second guess how I spell this thing. So if I take my time on this, all right, quantitative easing. All right, Q-U-A-N-T-I-T. Yep. Quantitative easing, you'll hear it called QE. All right, it's a fancy word for print more money. All right, when you print more money, it becomes less scarce. All right. Think about it this way. If you have Babe Ruth baseball cards, okay, why are they so valuable? They're in mint condition. If you have very few of them, they're very, very valuable. Okay, if you have a lot of them, they're not all that valuable. The dollar is the same way. Think about it this way. Toilet paper, like a month ago, it was just like a thing, right? There was just stacks and stacks. We've got videos of people making forts in Walmart out of them, right? Yeah, that'd be an empty fort right now, right? Toilet paper is more valuable right now because there's less of it. It's scarce, okay? So dollars are the same way. You print more money to finance a stimulus. It takes more dollars because they're worth less. All right, they're worth less, not worthless, but worth less. It takes more of them to buy a loaf of bread. Okay, so what are we looking at here? Quantitative easing leads to inflation. Basically, prices go up. Prices go up. And when prices go up, all right, what does that do to you and I? Okay, it's like, bread's more expensive. No. Everything's more expensive. Okay, so it's like you took a pay cut. All right, because your income's not going to go up by that same amount. There's just no way. We try to do cost of living. Hey, Naughty, what's up from Vienna? Hope y'all doing well. It's what are you still doing up? It's like midnight over there. Thank you. We have inflation. Everything you put in your basket at Target, everything you put into your cart at Costco just became more expensive. You can put less things into your cart. So things are more expensive. That's called inflation. So that's not necessarily a nice outcome of quantitative easing. So that's the first way that we could pay for a $2 trillion stimulus, okay? And guys, this isn't like Republican or Democrats. It's not a bashing of Trump or anything. It doesn't matter who was in office right now, okay? They would have had to have given the economy a little bit of boost. But that doesn't mean that there aren't implications to that boost, okay? Now, all right, this is step one, all right? This is probably the more likely thing that's going to happen, okay? It's probably the more likely thing that's going to happen. The other thing that we could do is we could borrow money. Imagine that we're broke, we can borrow money. Two is you borrow money. Now, why do we have to borrow? Well, look at it this way. When you look at national saving, all right, national saving for a country is your private saving, all right, plus your public saving. All right, well, big whoop. That's, who cares? What is that? Well, let's just do some reminders here. Private savings, your income, Y, minus what you consume, okay, minus what you pay in taxes. All right. Whereas public saving, okay, this is private saving. Public saving, simply their taxes, which is their income minus government spending. Now, taxes are the only form of income for governments. Taxes, baby. Talking about taxes, man. We ain't talking about the game. We talking about taxes. All right, little Allen Iverson if you want him. Government spending is G. Government spending. Okay? So what do we typically do in this country? By the way, national saving is private saving plus public saving. So Y minus C plus T minus G. Okay? Well, we typically, as a government, all right, we typically spend more than we bring in. All right, so that's called a deficit. And when you run a year-to-year deficit, okay, when you run a year-to-year deficit, you have to either do QE or borrow money. Anybody want to guess who we borrow a lot of money from? I'll wait for it in the comments. Anybody? I'll give you a hint. China! I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there's a connection there. So when we go to borrow money, okay, we're operating in a market, okay? When we operate in a market, we're looking at a market for loanable funds, okay? There's a quantity of loanable funds. That's just the amount of money that's out there, okay? And then there's a price to take out a loan. Anybody want to guess what that price is? It's called an interest rate. Interest rate. So price is interest rate. All right, interest rate. All right. Interest rates is just a fancy word for a price. Is the China? That's right, Eric. Interest rate, all right, is the price you pay to spend money you don't have. Okay, think about that. You're going to buy a house. You don't have all that money. You're going to borrow some money from the bank. The price they charge you is an interest rate. Makes sense? Okay. Interest rates also are the price you get to let someone else spend your money. Okay, so if you have excess money, you want to save it in terms of private saving, all right, you can put it in the bank and earn some interest, okay? So they can then loan it out to, say, small business, that type of thing. That adds to this quantity of loanable funds over here. Now, your suppliers of loanable funds are people who have savings. That is not the public saving, by the way, because if we're always running a deficit, there is no public savings. So it's typically coming from the private sector and other places around the world who can have some monkey business with their dollars, such as China. Okay? You've got a supply of loanable funds, and you've got a demand for loanable funds. Okay? Not to get into the nitty-gritty of the econ, because not everybody's had it, but basically suppliers are somebody that has something. They want to get as much money for it as possible in terms of the higher interest rate. Demanders want to get the best deal possible. Somewhere they meet in the middle, and that's called equilibrium. And that is your interest rate, your prevailing interest rate in a market. It's a little bit simplified, but hey, we're on Facebook. All right? And then you have some quantity of loanable funds. Okay? Quantity 1. Now, if the U.S. suddenly enters the hey, we need to be borrowing more money market, say by $2 trillion, there's a hard shift in the demand curve that way, which then moves this equilibrium up here, which makes interest rates higher. Pushing up interest rates, if you're a small business owner and you're looking to expand your business, say from 35 employees to 75 employees, that's an incentive not to do that. Okay, that's an incentive not to do that because it's more expensive to borrow money now. So interest rate just went up. It's bad news for a small business, which is, by the way, 90% of the economy's employees are employed by small business. So keep that in mind. All right. Plus, you drop down here and your quantity is now over here. So we move from here to there. All right, let me highlight this in blue. Every bit of that, this whole chunk, okay? This whole chunk right here, all right, that went to the government. All right, that is money that small businesses can't borrow now. That's called crowding out. All right, that's what the small businesses can't, because now it's more expensive to borrow money. All right, and there's less money available. All right, so it's more scarce, so it actually gets a higher price, just like we did with quantitative easing actually causing inflation. So when you hear, hey, stimulus, this is great, free money. No such thing, man. G ain't free, baby. G's government spending, and it ain't free. You understand? It is not at all free. Sorry, got my phone acting funny here. All right. I hope this helps. I don't mean to be Debbie Downer, but we're getting to a point very, very soon where we have to get a handle on the medical. All right. I think that's most important right now, all right? Okay, you have to get a handle on the medical, but you also have to realize there's this underlying thing with the economy out there that you just can't shut it down indefinitely, all right? So, you know what the good news is? Good news is, and John Maynard Keynes said this, I'm not a huge Maynard Keynes guy, but you know, in the long run, we're all dead. So does any of this matter? Boy, that's kind of a depressing question. You want to be not depressing? You know what matters? Personal relationship with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Because if you know that Christ was the Son of God and He took all the punishment, lived a perfect life, and was crucified on a cross for all of us, none of this crap matters anyway. So find yourself a church, online or otherwise. All right? Now that said, if you like these econ videos, let me know in the comments. I'll do a few more. Take everything you hear on the news with a grain of salt. I'm hearing stuff about how good things are now. I'm hearing stuff about how bad they are. I don't know. Somewhere in between. But just realize you can ignore reality, but you cannot ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. Okay? There are economic impacts. And when the orange man comes out and says, listen, okay, bigly, all right, sometimes, all right, the treatment is worse than the disease. Yeah, you're kind of right. Okay? It's kind of right. All right? So we're going to do our thing with the quarantines and everything for what we got to do it, but we got to figure out ways to support the economy at the same time. Okay? All right? If you can find a small business and support them this week, it'll mean the world to them. All right? You know what? I'm going to do sponsors. All right? Guess what? This lecture is sponsored by Will Lane. I hope you don't mind anything I said today, because this little lecture is now sponsored by Will Lane at the Chick-fil-A Westgate Mall. All right? You know you can get a Chick-fil-A app. You can look up Will Lane's Chick-fil-A Westgate Mall. This is a fellow who pours into my entrepreneurship club. He comes and talks to my business students. Just an outstanding individual. You can get the Chick-fil-A app out. you can dial him up on that Chick-fil-A app. You can select his location, Chick-fil-A Westgate Mall, get anything you want, pull it to the curb, and they're going to bring it out to you. All you got to do is when you get there, click I'm here, and you can get all the Chick-fil-A you want. He's also got some options for delivery as well. I'm not sure exactly all of them. Will, if you get in here, put them in the comments. But get out there and support a small business, okay? Will Lane, I know everybody's like, Chick-fil-A is a chain. No, it's not a chain, man. Those are franchise owners, okay? You want a good burrito, you go find Holy Moly. They got a drive-through, all right? If you're going to Chipotle and Mo, I'm sorry, all right? You're having a subpar burrito when it's compared to Holy Moly, all right? Baby Rhine, Burgers and Bakery, Lay Spice. Man, there's all kinds of options out there. Let's get out there and support them, will you? All right? That is a real economic stimulus package. Hope you've enjoyed this. Only took me 3 attempts to get the writing right. Hopefully it's right. Satisfied with this video. I'm going to go record a little more lecture for my students. All right. They get this all the time. Can you believe it? Poor them. All right. Talk to you later.